Hello everyone, and welcome to our Circle and Salve Women. For our new year, we're going to start a little bit on a new background. I'm working on it, so if it looks a little bit blank, give it time. But regardless, our topic of discussion today is on my article for the very first time this year, and that is what the past should teach us, we should already know. And so many of us have come to a time in life where we felt like there's just no purpose in moving forward because we're just stuck in this gutter, and we feel that we are too weighted, and all of a sudden there's just really no determination, feeling of no purpose to move forward. And we become somewhat gratified with the sensation of whatever it is that we're going through. And it's funny because as we continue to endure a certain pain or a certain type of circumstance, whether it be a position that we're in, a lifestyle we're in, or a relationship that we're in, then all of a sudden you think to yourself, this is it. I might as well just get used to it, and there's no need for me to continue forward in thinking for anything better or doing anything better, because this is what I've already become accustomed to. And yet you have to stop, rewind, and really think to yourself, who's making that decision, and why is it that I am in this mentality that I should not move forward to look for the betterment of my life, or to continue to strategize so that it does improve? Do I just accept this? And who has that power? And we already know the answer to that. That is you within. And so we are going to talk about what I've discussed in this article, in just some things to really shed light upon what we would already be reflecting on if we really took the time to ponder, if we haven't already. And the very first one is, it's not over. Think about your perspective. When you think, oh, I'm in this job, and I've been in this job for such a long time. I'm already used to my route to go to work, and then all the people I'm working with, I may not like them, but I'm used to them. They're used to me. I'm already okay with being grumpy. I mean, I run into that. I truly believe sometimes, and they don't even have to tell me where they work. I just feel as if they go and they are just somewhat accepting of what their day's like, and then they just get it done and they come home, and it's a check-in and a check-out. And it's like relationships as well, or a certain circumstance in life that I can see in their eyes before they even tell me. And perhaps I sometimes look at myself and go, well, there's really no judgment, because we've all been in that mentality where we think to ourselves, there's really nothing better to really look forward to. And yet it's not over. And that's that perspective of the glass half empty or the glass half full. When we think to ourselves that this is just the way it is, it's that decision that you've made on your own, because all of a sudden you just think to yourself, it would take too much effort or too much of a change to do anything more. And then that's when you have to stop and go, hold on. I'm basically saying it's over, that I'm just going to be about my days, about my life, and not being happy, but then just accepting it and not thinking that it could ever be anything more than what it already is. But you have to say to yourself, there is that next step. And whether you're looking at a job that you've lost as the end of the world, you could look at it as a position or an opportunity for you to now seek something even better, or one that you've finally always had hoped that you had time to seek. And whether it be a friendship that has ended, and then all of a sudden you think, there's no way that I'm going to be able to restart this, what I've invested in already. And yet all that time you may have complained about how much time you invested in that nothing grew, or that no matter how much you put into it, it didn't work out. And yet here you are, being able to have this gateway to create another path into a new relationship. And so again, think to yourself, it is not over. The next one is focus on today. as I mentioned to you in one of my previous articles, is that when I would tell my son, you know, just focus on the step that you're taking, because I remember taking a walk with him and my 2 younger boys and my husband, and we're in the snow, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm so tired that, you know, it's just such a long path. And I said, here's a trick. Don't look at what's ahead. Take it one step at a time and give it your best every time. And before you know it, you will have arrived to where you're where you would want to be. And it was like so great to have him affirm that, yeah, you know what, that actually did work. And because I know it works for me. Sometimes when you look at how far you have to go, all of a sudden you just want to stop now. You're like, oh my goodness, that is such a long route to take. And we all love shortcuts because we know that it somehow makes us feel like we haven't lost the time. And yet sometimes when we take shortcuts, then something else is missing, or that there were some expenses that were spent that was not necessary when you could have just journeyed in the means that it was supposed to happen. And so again, take it one step at a time. Focus on today and focus on the now, because really tomorrow you can't establish it. As much as you visualize what tomorrow will be like, you really truly will not know. The best thing that you can only do is prepare today in all the means necessary, so that regardless of what tomorrow will bring, and let's hope it is what you envision it to be, if there are some pitfalls, if there are some little corners that you did not anticipate that you had to turn, you at least say to yourself, well, hold on, I have some things that I have prepared for that just in case. And so the more prepared you are today, the more you focus on today, I really, really always believe that the tomorrow will be a better place for you, because your heart, your mind, your body, and your spirit will be well prepared for whatever is to come. The next one is hate is poison. And so I mentioned in my article, I believe it's called sarin. It's a human created chemical nerve agent, and it's tasteless, it's odorless, it's colorless. And when it's mixed with water, then it can, or just vaporizes, it can actually, if you're exposed to it for a very short time, then, you know, the effects are minor, or something that you will not hurt you to a great, just deteriorating level. And yet, if you're exposed to it for a very long time, it can cause death, or to, you know, very, very, I guess, levels of severity. And so you have to think about life that way. When you are surrounded by people who feed you hate, and all they want to do is commiserate about, and they won't act like they're the ones hating, of course, right? And yet, when you're around it all the time, the negativity, and again, I bring up Floyd Mayweather because in the past I've brought him up, that, you know, you surround yourself with people who push you. And you may think sometimes, oh, they're just, you know, they are pushing me too hard, or that there's so much pressure around that room, and yet they're all succeeding to a level that no one else is. And, you know, it's because they know how to drive forward. They know how to establish a level of success because of the sacrifice that they create. And I truly believe that that is why Floyd Mayweather has brought that up, because he would not have gotten to his level of success and continues to be in levels of success had he not really surrounded himself with people who knew about success. And so it does, you know, it's interesting because sometimes you run into people that make you feel as if it's everybody else is the one who is in the hate, and they're all about fixing things and making things better. And yet you look at their life and it's immobile. It has not prospered. It has not blossomed. And you can tell that if you were to compare them to anyone else in the room, they're the most miserable. And sometimes they will do a really good job at creating a front about it and making it seem as like they are not. And yet then you realize that they're the ones that are feeding on, you know, to your spirit and into your lifestyle, or maybe into just your mindset, what could be very dark. And I've mentioned that so much in the past, but it's so important to understand how to really support your own system within, to make sure that you're not feeding yourself poison. Because yes, sometimes it can be tasteless, it can be colorless, it can be odorless, and you don't even know that you are impacted by it because you have found yourself in it, and then all of a sudden you're immersed, and it could be a very fatal decision on your part, because then your soul is dead and you don't realize that you've fallen in so deep. And so just be careful, and always remember that hate is poison. So on the opposite of that, if you're surrounded with people who are are full of love, then you know that that's going to rub off on you as well, and it's going to keep reminding you to love. It's going to keep reminding you, and there's that saying in the Bible that God is love. It really is important to understand that everything that is good is of God, and so you have to make certain that you truly believe in the light, and so that you are falling far, or you're stepping away far from darkness. So I truly believe that hate goes in along very, very much with that. The next one is fear leads to ignorance. And gosh, I grew up with such a background, and many of us should say, if you have as well and you can relate to it, you can't say that it's to anyone's fault in the past. Sometimes when people don't know, that they are at the level of ignorance, it's because they don't know any better. And as a teacher, as a parent, and as a parent who's watched other children, have been to other homes, my life's not perfect. No one's life is perfect. And I truly believe that that's why I've been blessed to be able to reflect upon that, grow upon it, and then be able to use it as using it as a good force to really help my students who are coming in sometimes feeling some kind of way, and then they make comments like, my mom thinks I'm crazy, and they're real about that, not like mentally crazy, or that that they express that something is wrong with them. And I always say, forgive your parents. They, sometimes we do our best to say the right things, but we come from a place where we don't always know that what we are saying is not coming out or being delivered in the way that we would want you to take it in. And that is the way I've learned to really accept my history with my parents, is understanding that, my mom coming from war and her father leaving them when she was about 14 or 15, and, my husband listening to his stories, just, incredible stuff that you have to realize people are coming from a place of what they know. And so there's that saying of ignorance is bliss, and that contentment of just not knowing any better. When people are coming from, sometimes I run into my students that are coming from a world where it's like madness, and you think to yourself, this is to them a norm, and yet until they know anything better, that is their safe haven, and they feel that truly that is where they are comfortable. And so whenever you think about fear leading to ignorance, it's just that all of a sudden we're afraid to take a risk of knowing what's on the other side of the mountain, and think to ourselves, we've already accustomed ourselves to this level, to this valley, to this surrounding, and it's easier for us to find ourselves very comfortable with what we already know than to even strive for anything more, or anything that others could say is better. If we can just convince ourselves that our life is best, or our life is better than anything else, then we can really create that, that belief, and so we can live in our, sad to say, ignorance, right? Because that is our stronghold, and that is a survival tactic for many of us. And it's not, I don't want to say that it's a bad thing, but you then, at the point where you acknowledge that maybe there is something better on the other side, that is when then you have to take a point in your life to go, hold on, am I just too afraid to even try to see if there's anything out there that is better than what I already have? And if I am okay with this, then I have to accept it and own it, and then own it. But don't don't live a life of regret where you know that you didn't even try to venture into something or understand anything better. And that is what life is a journey, and going through every circumstance and accepting it and asking yourself, what can you learn from it? And otherwise, you are in that ignorance, and sometimes that ignorance is bliss. And again, that is your choice. The very last one is knowledge is power. So it's countering really the fear leading to ignorance, because once you gain knowledge, you starve for more. I know I do. It's because I know what 1 + 1 is. Now I want to know what 2 + 2 is. And then once I know my addition, then I learn about subtraction. Then when I learn about subtraction, then it's multiplication. Really addition to multiplication, because that's the shortcut to addition, and so forth. It doesn't even have to be mathematical. It could be any word that you learn. Then you learn synonyms, and then you learn antonyms. You just know that you start off with the phonetics, or you start off with letters, then you formulate words, and then you formulate sentences, then you formulate paragraphs, you formulate essays, and then before you know it, you're writing chapters and creating a book, and then that book becomes a manuscript, and then it becomes a fantastic movie, and then before you know it, it's an amazing story to be told and heard by many in all throughout history. And there are so many out there that we still read, because it has really passed itself on as something magnificent. And so it all starts with that knowledge of knowing that it started from somewhere. And so that somewhere is about you understanding that you are seeking the purpose of having more knowledge, and how powerful that is, because you can silence a room of many savants, many people that may think that they know a lot. Those are people who are hungry for even more, right? The ones that really seek greater wisdom are the ones who are hungry for tell me more. Can you explain to me? Can you, give me even more than what I feel like I already know? And it's just amazing, because if you feel that you're never satisfied with knowledge, the more powerful you will feel, and having gained even more information, because everything is theoretical fact until a better explanation. Really, the definition of theory is until a better explanation is given. So keep that in mind. Knowledge is power, and that is what we're going to end it with today, because these are things we should already know. And so the past should teach us these things that we can keep as a repertoire up our sleeve, and making sure that we always remember these things so that we never stop. We never stop moving forward. It is okay to really look back, but don't fall back. Just say to yourself, okay, I can look back and learn from all of those that I have really journeyed, and yet I will be stronger, better, and more wiser in the long run from it all. And just know that tomorrow happened. It happened, and I denote that in my article. And then yesterday, yeah, it will. Right? It hasn't happened yet, and yet we can't really predict or formulate some type of formula to make it the way we want it to, or create some kind of path so that it becomes exact to what we envision. All we can do is live in the gift of the present. And when I say the gift of the present, it's amazing to know that you have the power to really handle that with care, and that is for you to decide on how much you want to put into it. And, it's up to you, and really embrace that every moment of the journey that you live, because it is really you deciding how you want to live each day. And it's not to really ever say that you're comparing yourself to anyone else. Don't get stuck in that social media where you feel like your life is not as good as someone else. You know what? All that limelight is, everyone's just trying to inspire each other. Everyone's just trying to shed a light. And so use that to inspire you, but don't use it to get you down, because as long as you focus on you, someone else is being inspired by your story as well. So remember that. In the words of my mother, God bless us all. We will see you next time. Happy, happy, happy New Year. Let it be the happiest New Year yet. And I look forward to speaking in yet another story, or whatever it is that comes forward to inspire you. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you next time.